All right, everybody, welcome back to beekeeping at Sentinel Pines. We're going to go into the hive today. We're going to check on things and we're going to test for mites. You can see my stuff right here for mite check-in. We probably won't look at every frame today just because one, I don't really have time. Two, it's very hot. Three, I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so we'll look at like the first frame. I might decide to go grab my next box and add that. If I do, I might just do that off camera, but we'll decide that after looking at the top frame. So yeah, let's get going. So like I said, it's pretty hot today. There's lots of bees here at the entrance trying to regulate some heat. I have not really been in. A breeze just picked up, which is really nice. I have not really been in the hive. In fact, I have not been in at all since the last time. But yeah, hopefully we spot Regina like right away, uh, just so that we're sure she's not in our sample. But if not, it is what it is. They're hanging out on this less and less when I open it up because it hasn't had anything in it in a while. Can't even get in here. Okay, was able to kind of crack it open, but just barely. Yeah, I feel like just initial spot check of this first frame or this first box and how many bees are kind of like on it and around. I feel like it's going to be time to add another box. So the decision to add an excluder here so that they make honey in the top box and not in and the queen can't come up into the top box. One, I don't have an excluder, so I can't do that. And two, again, my main goal is to have bees next year after the winter. So next year will be more of a honey harvest year. Dang, son. Alrighty. So this first frame already full of bees. And nectar and brood and lots of capped nectar on that side. What will be lots of capped nectar on this side. Lots of capped brood on this side. Not a lot of pollen over here. All right, just checking for her. I showed my grandma some of these videos the other day and showed her how to find the queen. She was just amazed by it. But that also made me want to change my camera angle from being portrait mode to being landscape mode. This frame is very heavy. I can't really see what you guys can see, but this frame is very heavy. I can kind of see, but yeah, until I find her, I don't really want to take frames too close to the camera because, like I said, I found out that, like she could fall off of the frame. And then she's on the ground, and as you guys know, I tend to step on them. So I don't see her on this one. I see some drones on this one. I don't really see like wow, that is a massive drone. Huge drone. Fucking freakishly big. Oops, I just dropped an F-bomb. They don't really look like she's on here either. There tends to be like a little bit of a different commotion on the frame that she's on. So we are gonna set this one down here. just like that, and continue on. Guys, this hive is bursting with bees. I really do think I'm going to have to add the next box today. Like literally bursting with bees. There are bees on every frame up here, so yeah. That's partly my fault because I moved the frames. Remember? I kind of checkerboarded them. But they are definitely working them. This frame had like nothing on it last time. And now it is completely drawn comb. She's got eggs in here. She's got nectar getting capped up on here. I would really like to spot her today. So I might take a little extra time looking for her. She does not look to be on this one. I will show you some frames, everybody. I know it gets kind of boring probably just watching me go in. This channel is not really like intended to be a YouTube channel, you know, so I'm not really going crazy with the whole production value here, but I do understand that it would be more interesting if you saw more of the hive than just me going. But yeah, we're going to test for mites again today. So I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but I'll tell you a little bit about how the mite works. It's called a varroa mite, and it's the biggest reason why hives fail. And what it does is it gets into the hive and it seeks out the brood that is about to be capped. And it lays its eggs in that brood so that when it gets capped, the eggs can incubate in there with the larva of the bee. And then when the bee is born, or like hatches from the egg, the mite is, the bee is hatched with the mites on it. And then the mite kind of consumes the bee, you know, while being attached to it. And they're massive, like in comparison. They're like the size of a cheeseburger. I know I've said that before, but they really are. They're massive. And so you treat the bees, right? And you test for mites and you try to keep them down. Apparently there's like always going to be some, but you try to keep them down. But there is a new, the beekeeper has kind of constantly been trying to find ways to rid themselves and their hive of this mite. So there's this new genetic method that they're trying that seems to be successful. And what it is they've bred what's called, and I don't know what this stands for, but it's called a VSH queen. And a VSH queen is a kind of queen that has this genetic code that, wow, this is all honey. Guys, this is all honey. Okay, I'm going to show you this frame. This is literally nothing in here but honey. So that makes me think she has descended. Our Queen Regina has descended into the darker depths of the hive. Because maybe she's decided, like, okay, I don't need to keep looking for fresh frame, fresh comb to lay in. I can go down deeper and I can lay down in the lower sections of the hive, and the hive can make honey up top. That's what they naturally want to do. She wants to naturally be down below laying eggs while honey gets stored above her. So she might be making that decision. There is cap brood on this side, so I'm just double checking to see if I can find her. And I don't see her, and they're not really acting like she's on it. Okay, I'm going to show you this frame, though, because I'm fairly confident that she's not on here. Okay, so do you see that large white band? That is all capped nectar. And then if you pause and look deep into those cells, each one of those cells is filled with nectar. There is not a one that has eggs in it. Not a one. All honey. Well, all nectar. Eventually to be honey. So that's really good news. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's really good news, but it's a sign that maybe she has stopped laying up here and she's moved downward. So let's continue to check these frames to see any more sign of that and just her in general. And then we will go into the next box. You know, if I end up having to go into the whole thing, I will. But that was a good find there. And that might have to do with the fact that I've been checkerboarding everything. You know, they're using lots of new frame down below that they didn't do anything before on. And so maybe she's just got so many frame that she can be laying in that she's like, you know what? I'm going to go down. This is like all cap brood. Tons of cap brood on here on this side. Just again, looking around for her. Not really doing a good job of doing the system of thirds. Okay, so what was I saying? All right, the VSH queen. The VSH queen, another frame of straight honey. So these two frames that were facing each other have been turned into just straight frames for nectar and honey. They're not putting anything else in here. There's one flying on my face right now. Well, on the face of my protector. Okay, again, she doesn't look to be on this one either. So I'll show you this one so that you can see that again. So again, lots of capped honey on the top, and all of those cells down there are full of nectar. Okay, VSH queen. So she has a genetic code in her that, who knows? I mean, you could look this up, I'm sure, on a better YouTube channel. But she has a genetic code in her that was bred into her by bee breeders that makes her produce a, a bee that during its worker life cycle will take on a job, take on a new role that is literally going around to all the cap brood and listening or smelling or somehow determining which of those cap brood have, okay, this one has fresh eggs on it, so she could be on this one. Which of those capped brood have a mite in them? And then what that bee will do is it will crack that cell open, go inside, and remove the mites. But this side is all nectar. So that's a pretty amazing thing that we've now bred a queen that will produce a bee that is taking on a whole new role that's not traditionally been part of their work. Like, that's pretty incredible. So they go in and they remove the mite, okay? And when they do that, obviously, they they have less mites or they have no mites. And the beekeeper doesn't need to treat those for mites because they are genetically, right, like told that part of your job when you're a worker is to go and seek these mites out and remove them from the hive. I think that's really incredible. So these queens are kind of prized, right? A lot of these frames up top here are good contenders for popping down into our testing thing, provided they don't have a queen on them or the queen. So yeah, these queens are really prized queens, especially if they've been bred with a queen or with a male that is also of this VSH genetic code, right? Because then what that means is all of her children, when she starts to lay in the hive, all of her children will be of the VSH genetic code, meaning they all will be triggered in their worker life cycle to go and do this task. So typically a regular queen can cost you like $40, but a purebred VSH queen can cost $700, $1,200. Like, they can be really, really expensive. So the president of my bee club is actually trying and successfully doing so to breed his own, one, to sell, and two, to get into the club. Because the way he sees it, right, the more queens out there that have this genetic code, the more drones that will be out there, even with a trace amount of this genetic code. Those drones will go out and breed. And so another, mostly honey one. This one has some eggs in it. They will, yeah, they'll just breed in the wild, right? And get more and more of that genome out into the world and out into our area. And so even if you don't go out and buy a VSH queen, you might have your VSH queen go out and mate with a drone who has VSH in him, and then come back and start laying in your hive. And even if there are only some bees in your hive that have that, that's still better than none, right? So yeah, he is, I guess, doing a pretty good job of it, and he's hoping to have some for sale in the next, I think, next year to club members. But probably outside of my budget, to be honest. Um, Testing and treating hasn't been too cost prohibitive for me. So, but that's pretty incredible. I think that, how do you breed? I mean, I guess how do you breed bees? You do what I'm already doing, but scientists are smarter about it, I'm sure. Like, how do you get an insect that has been doing something the way it's been doing it for time immemorial, to now do this whole new task? I feel like it's just feat of scientific ability. It's pretty crazy. So yeah. Okay, still just looking for Regina. I'm not really seeing her. Again, she could have gone down deep into this hive because she's recognizing that there's plenty of places for her to lay. So, but we're going to keep going. I do like a lot of the frames up here for potential use for ye old mite checking. I'm going really slowly, if you notice, because one thing I've kind of noticed is as I push the frames closer together, the bees, especially if I go slowly, the bees recognize that the space is getting too small and they'll kind of naturally get out of the way. Remember, the bee space is a critical part of the hive. So they can kind of sense like, oop, this space is no, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Get out of this because this is not bee space worthy. So I just kind of put the frames back more slowly rather than smoking them again, because the smoking them doesn't really get them. It kind of, I mean, smoking does get them to move, but it doesn't really necessarily get them to get out of the way and stay out of the way. So yeah, the varroa mite is the number one thing that's going to take your hive. So like my hive's doing really well, right? I mean, you can see pretty much every frame I've pulled up smothered in bees. Okay, that's good. But if they have a bad case of the mite going into winter, that mite will just destroy them over winter. And even though this hive looks thriving, that mite will make sure that it's not. So a lot of new beekeepers, right, their first year, they don't know about this stuff or they don't realize how serious it is. And so they don't really do anything about it. And then the winter comes and they're like, what happened to my hive? Well, the mite did. The mite's what happened. But they think like, oh, it's because it got so cold, No, not really. The inside of the hive is going to stay pretty warm, actually. The bees do a pretty good job of heating up the hive. I mean, winter does bring along its own set of challenges, like the bees are making it warm in there. And so the humidity of the hive will sometimes be what kills them because they'll cause condensation on the top of the hive and then water drips down on them and that kills them. But generally, for the most part, you're worried about the varroa mite. So that is why we will test them. Okay. So we'll probably come in and grab from this frame or from these frames when we are ready to test. But we are going to go into the next box down, at least the next box down, to continue looking for her and to just see like, you know, are those frames down there mostly getting covered in egg cells? Because if they are, then it doesn't confirm, but it kind of supports this idea that maybe she has decided to go down low, get low, and because yeah, whoa, hello, okay, hopefully she wasn't down there. I doubt it. Okay, that looks pretty good already. I was a little worried about that. Okay. Next frame, or next box. Ooh, that's heavy as a motherfucker, let me tell you. Oh man, I'm cussing again. They're gonna demonetize me. That's okay, I don't care. Okay, so let's keep going. How's our smoker doing? Oh, pretty good actually. It's good. Again, I'd really like to find her. I don't see any, I mean, currently I don't see any sign that she's not in here, you know, like I don't see a lot of queen cells getting made or anything like that. But it's just on a day that you're going to test for mites, it's just nice to know that, oh, there she is, you know, kind of thing. They are making a lot of drones. Why? No idea, guys. No idea. But like that's a bunch of drone right there. When they make drones, those cells like protrude out of the hive because the drone is so big. So I'll show you on this frame because I don't see her. So I feel okay walking over to you. So you can see like those cells. See how they kind of stick out way further? That's because they are filled with a drone. Man, we're already at 30 minutes on this video. See, this takes some time to do. Okay, tons of eggs on this one. So she could be on here. I mean, other things can affect your bees too. Like there's some other diseases and other pests that can get into the hive. One of which is mice. Like, isn't that crazy? Another is wasps. So save your local bumblebee, save your local honeybee, but kill all your wasps. I think spiders can also be, but they're less common, but spiders can also be a pest in a beehive. Skunks, raccoons, you know, things like that. Your Winnie the Pooh bear. Let's try smoking them off some of these ones. But generally speaking, it's the Verolamite. I met a guy out the other night drinking beers who's a local beekeeper who doesn't come to the club. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Get to the club, bro. But he said he's been doing it for a few years, and he made it sound like he's losing hives every year. But when I, asked him, this one is pretty much all honey in the comb that they've pulled up. So man, they're really gonna make me go all the way down, aren't they? See if I can find her. He made it sound like he's doing everything right and he was losing his hives. So I can see it, like the white capped cells from the top here in some frames, and that's making me curious. Like I do want to look at them to see like what are they doing. This one is a lot of capped brood as well, but a lot of brood that looks like it has hatched out and they've replaced the cells with nectar. So could be sign that, yeah, oh, this one's got fresh eggs on it. So we'll take an extra kind of peek around for her. I don't see her. Come on, Regina, show up. I don't know if I mentioned this, I thought I did, but the new microphone is courtesy of my brother Kevin, subscriber from Texas. Thanks for subscribing. Those of you that haven't, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and be sure to put on the bell so you get a notification when I post a new video. I'm trying to get out here once a week. I know my mentor wants me out more, but I just don't got the time, yo. So once a week is pretty good. It's better than a lot of people. And yeah, hit that bell so you get notifications. I try to post on Sunday night. And leave a comment, press the like, all that stuff. All the obligatory things that YouTubers say. Alrighty. Keep her moving. My berry patch is just over there, and it's better than it's ever been. I think I might have talked about this last time. I mean, it's just better established. It's been, planted like 3 years ago now, but it's better than it's ever been this year. And I do wonder if it's because of these guys. Oop, look at them doing that hanging thing. See, I don't want to move them too quickly, but see, they were hanging, and now I'm kind of messing with them a little bit. But they do that hanging thing, and there's a belief or a thought that maybe they do that to try to determine which way is down, like confirm gravity's pull, because they want to build new comb. Like that frame has new comb on it, and they want to do that so that they can uh, make sure that they build their comb straight down. Now they really can't not do that in the hive that we have here, but they don't know that, right? So um because yeah, in nature, if they didn't build straight down to gravity and then they loaded it full of 100 pounds of honey, that comb's just going to break. So no Regina yet. No Regina yet. I do love these combs that they have worked multiple times though. It's so cool to see how like professionally framed out they look, you know? Like they don't look like the weak frame of fresh frame. They look like, okay, we put some combs in here and then we did something and now we fixed them up and we've made them better. You know, it's like comb 2.0. Because that's what they do. They build the comb and then it gets used and then for whatever reason, and then when it's done being used for that reason, some of the workers go in and they clean them up and they fix them up, and so they just get tighter and tighter and nicer until beekeeper comes along and says, I want these for honey, and scrapes them all up and smashes them all up. Get out of the way. We still haven't even shaken any for mite testing. We'll probably take that from that top one. This one looks like it's going to be all honey too. So again, like maybe she's way down deep. So yeah, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to kill the video so that you guys don't have to sit and watch me check every frame here for her. But I think I am going to keep going and look for her in the bottom box. And make sure you check the description. I'll leave a post. I'll leave a description in there on what happened, what I was able to find, if anything. So that way you guys can get on with your day, but I'll keep working here. So thanks for watching.